Good morning. It's 4:16 a.m. I'm sharing this video so you too can make delicious banana bread. This is an old recipe from a book I started writing my recipes in when I was 8 years old. It's Garfield. So just follow along, pause and replay the video as much as you need, and I'm going to have in the description below the list of ingredients. So this is how you put it together. And the reason mine is so good, it's because of the little things that I do. So I'll describe as I go how meaningful they are. So the first thing you want to do is preheat the oven to 350. You want to do that before you start so that it has time to heat up. Next thing you want to do is you want to pick a pan. The pan matters. If you use a glass pan, I have another glass one. I made one in this and one in this at the same time. This one had to cook 10 minutes longer. So it's something about how the heat retains in the pan or goes through the pan to cook the food. So it does make a difference in cooking. I really like this pan because it cooked it really nice and it made it in a shape where the pan and the shape of the pan helped it to cook within the time limit that was given on the original recipe. So it makes a difference. So we're going to oil the pan. Makes it easy if you have a little broom. It's okay if you have a little too much oil. This is also a non-stick pan. Okay. That's it, you set it aside. So the first thing is flour. So you usually want to put your dry ingredients first. A lot of recipes you want to put your dry ingredients and your wet ingredients separate and then add them together. This one, it's only eggs and bananas as the wet ingredients, so I'll show you how that works out. But it does the butter kind of like a pastry recipe. Maybe that's why it turns out so good. But here we go. So 1 cup and 1/3 of flour. So these two. What type of flour? You can use any type of flour. I'm using oat flour. Sometimes I put a little bit of rice flour in with the oat flour, but usually just straight oat flour. You can use regular whole wheat flour, unbleached. I don't care. I haven't noticed a difference in the type of flour. So you want to spoon it in so it's not packed in. I go, because I use a lot of bananas, I don't level it out. There's 1. And 1/3. So like I said, I don't level it out because I use extra banana, so it's extra moist. So it doesn't hurt you to have a little more. I also like to throw in a little flax meal. Sometimes I'll do hemp seeds. It just adds nutrients and it doesn't really change the moisture consistency with how I make it because I use extra bananas. So we're just going to do 2 spoonfuls. And here's the hemp seeds. You can get hemp seeds at Winco bulk. And I also get my flax meal there and my flour in the bulk section. So the next thing is 3/4 teaspoon of salt. So I got 1/2 and 1/4. This you do want level. You don't want clumps. So there's the salt. Baking soda is 1/2 teaspoon. Baking powder is 1/4. So use the same ones again. So baking soda 1/2. Baking powder is 1/4. then you're done with that. I do want to make a note here. If you have lumps in your baking soda or your baking powder and you put it in there without smoothing it out or picking the lumps out, you're going to get a bite full and nasty. So make sure if your baking soda, your baking powder is lumpy, the stuff is cheap enough. I just toss it and get a new one. If you bake enough, use small containers and then you'll never get the lumps in your baking soda or baking powder. 5 1/3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. 1 stick of butter is 8 tablespoons. This asks for 5 1/3, which is, I don't know, you could do 6 tablespoons. I just do the whole thing. It's easier. So it's an extra 2 tablespoons. So extra butter makes it taste better. So you want to mix it up. I'd leave your butter out the night before if you're going to make it in the morning. And then you want to just this is a pastry cutter. It's nice, but you could do it with a fork. It's more work. This is more cleaning. So you want to make sure you have, the clumps aren't too big. But what this does is it makes it so when it cooks, it has these little pockets of butter. That's part of what makes it so delicious. Okay, the next ingredient is 2/3 cup of sugar. So I use brown sugar because it's delicious. And so it makes everything else delicious. It has molasses in it. If you have white sugar, you could probably add a couple tablespoons of molasses to get a better flavor. But I just buy bulk brown sugar at Winco. I don't level these either. All right, 2 eggs and 1 cup of mashed bananas. So these bananas are really big. Normally a banana is about this size. I would use 3, but because these are so big, I'm going to use 2 and I don't know, maybe a half. I could probably get away with just using 2, but then I got 1 whole banana. That's what makes it hard. So I might make another banana bread. We'll try 2. We'll go light on the banana. And so this is your guys's, opportunity to experiment with how much banana you want in it. Maybe you try a little less and you're like, oh, that sucked. It wasn't very good. I should do more bananas next time. That's how you get a recipe really good, is you've made it so many times that you know exactly what to do to make it perfect. So it's kind of all in here. If you mix it too much, you're going to make it dense and all the flavors are going to be combined into one flavor. What makes this so good is that there's clumps of flavor in it. And so when it cooks, it preserves those clumps of flavor. So you want to just mash. Now, a lot of other recipes will say mash the bananas separately, but I mash it in here because you can get clumps of banana and then it'll grab pockets of the sugar because the sugar wasn't mixed in when I did this. So the banana will grab the sugar and the egg will coat it, and then it will get mixed in with the flour. And if you don't like the clumps of banana, when you find them, they're too big, you just kind of squish them. But this is what makes it so good. It's not like over mixing it. You know, you leave chunks of butter that are big enough and you don't over mix. So just until everything's moistened. And guess what? Oven's already preheated. You can kind of see the clumps of banana in there. If some of them are too big. But that's it. It's super lumpy batter. So if you don't like huge clumps, just kind of sort through it. Okay, now the nuts. So I prefer pecans, but I ran out of pecans and I used a mixture of almonds and hazelnuts, which were surprisingly really good. And I went to buy more hazelnuts and noticed they were on sale again. I get them at the bulk area at Winco. So it says a half a cup of nuts. Because I found that a lot of people don't like nuts, I just started chopping them and sprinkling them on top. That way, if somebody really doesn't like nuts, they can take them off the top, which is the best part, and they can still try the bread. So also, I'm a little bit lazy, and I just put them in at the end because I forgot after I already put it in the pan. So And yes, this knife is excessive. I'm also annoyed. Okay, so before you put the nuts on, I sprinkle more brown sugar on top. Put it in the oven for 50 minutes, almost an hour, and then check it. You want to check it with a toothpick and then make sure it comes out clean. If you're not sure and you have a glass pan, look at the sides. If they look kind of brown, you're going to know when it's almost done because your whole house is going to smell like banana bread.